you what I'm focused on is delivering for the people in Scotland. We didn't talk about the next general election. We did talk through the things that we can do to deliver for people here in Scotland. Then Colin Mackay tears into him for avoiding the question for a third time. Rishi Sunak, the unelected Prime Minister of these islands, was ripped to pieces by what the sycophantic fans of Westminster will say was a hostile interviewer. Let's be clear on this. It's about high time that the media aggressively interviewed Westminster politicians. They've had an easy ride from the media for far too long. Colin Mackay delivered a perfectly executed interview, holding Rishi to account for completely avoiding the questions posed to him. It appears that the senior leadership of Westminster, who truly do not like visiting Scotland, as they are perfectly aware of the line of questioning they will get, will still deny Scotland its democracy. Let me be perfectly clear on this topic. I fully accept the unanimous verdict of the Supreme Court by Scottish, Irish, Welsh, and 2 English justices representing all corners of these islands. In fact, I completely welcomed it, as it is now perfectly clear that Scotland has no legal route to revisiting its relationship with the Union without first seeking permission from Anglo-British nationalist elected officials. This is not a democracy. In fact, this proves what we have all known for a very long time. These islands are not, in actual fact, a union of equals. Wales is in the same position as Scotland, and Ireland has it built into legislation that they can have a route for a democratic conversation about its relationship with the Union. Meanwhile, if England wished to have a conversation about the Union, it does not need to seek permission to do so from any of the devolved nations. Think about that for a second. Now, let's watch this perfectly executed interview by Colin Mackay.
Now, when you were here at the hustings in Scotland, at the hustings during the leadership contest, you said the prospect of another independence referendum during a cost of living crisis would be balmy.
It is quite frankly balmy for politicians to be trying to focus on a divisive and unnecessary constitutional referendum.
So you're not going to give the powers to the Scottish Parliament. The First Minister says that means she's going to turn the next general election into a de facto referendum. If you're still Prime Minister after that election, would you accept the result of that de facto referendum?
I tell you what I'm focused on is delivering for the people in Scotland. Today's announcement...
Yeah, but that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you about the possibility of a de facto referendum at the next general election, which is what the First Minister is proposing. You spoke to her about it last night. Would you accept the outcome of that?
We didn't talk about the next general election. What we did talk about, though, is the things that we can do to deliver for people here in Scotland by working constructively together. And today's announcement of 2 new free ports is a great
but you're
example
completely
of that.
ignoring my question, which is about the possibility of the next general election being a de facto referendum. Would you accept the outcome of that?
What I'm focused on...
I know, but that's not what I'm asking you, what you're focused on. I'm asking you to focus on this, because there's a lot of people in Scotland who are very interested in this. Would you accept the outcome of a de facto referendum?
Do you know what? I was out all of yesterday evening, I've been out all of today, and what people are talking to me about is what we can do to actually make their lives better in the here and now.
So you're just not going to talk about what they're talking about? You're just going to ignore my question about... You're just going to ignore my question about Scotland's constitutional future? Is that what you're doing?
No, I think when it comes to when it comes to a general election, people will make up their own minds on what they want to vote on, right? So it's not really for me to talk about that. What I can talk about...
because that's what I'm asking you about. It sounds like you're ignoring the mandate at the Scottish Parliament. You're ignoring a mandate potentially at a Westminster election. Are you ignoring democracy?
No, absolutely not. What we are doing is delivering for people here in Scotland. And now obviously, the Scottish Government tried to put forward something which the Supreme Court said was not appropriate. Well, I respect the decision of the Supreme Court. And in the here and now, I think what people in Scotland want is for us to make a difference to their lives. And we want to create jobs and opportunities.
But they have no democratic right to express their own opinion on Scotland's future.
As I said, the Supreme Court has made its decision. We respect the decision of the Supreme Court.
But the Scottish people
can't. And actually, what we are doing is delivering for the Scottish people with initiatives like the 2 free ports here today that we're announcing, which will bring jobs, investment and opportunity to their regions in Scotland. It's a very positive example of what we're going to try and do, and that's what I'm set on delivering.
Prime Minister, thanks for joining us on STV News. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Rishi Sunak repeatedly avoids the question on the constitutional issue in Scotland and goes as far as to say The Scottish Government tried to put forward something which the Supreme Court said was not appropriate. I respect the decision of the Supreme Court. And he went on further to say again, the Supreme Court has made the decision. We respect the decision of the Supreme Court. Of course you do, Mr. Sunak, as it makes it absolutely clear that you hold all the power and can remain rigid on the constitutional question of Scotland remaining in this union indefinitely. But be clear, the Supreme Court verdict never once stated that Scotland could not hold a ballot box event that would demonstrate whether we want independence or not. The Supreme Court's verdict was that the Scottish Government could not legislate for a referendum on constitutional matters, as constitutional matters are reserved. And here endeth the lesson on the democratic deficit that Scotland faces. Westminster coddles to prevent from Scotland doing better for its people, and no voters accept blindly, along with Westminster legislation that will soon remove paid holiday, remove paid maternity and paternity leave, remove the time between rest days and breaks at work, remove the right to withdraw labour in the form of industrial action, remove the right to peacefully protest against a government that is orchestrating the greatest dissolution of its population's working and civil rights. But I guess that's just what goes with voting no.